No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show alongside Dave Manouk, alongside Ezra Ginsburg. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Expected it to be sort of a sleepy Sunday, a game against the Anaheim Ducks. You know, usually it's not one that you got circled on your calendar. It's usually not one that you expect is going to generate a lot of headlines. Well, gentlemen, we were definitely in for a surprise because this is a headline game given all that occurred this afternoon in California. I guess it would be late afternoon in California, early evening here in Winnipeg. Nice to see both of you gentlemen on this Sunday. Happy
What's up, boys?
Continue. What is this? The fourth night of Hanukkah, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Got that right. Had a big Hanukkah party at my house tonight. So shout out to all the family who were over. It was great to have everyone in the house.
How many latkes did Sheldon/Dad have, Drew?
You know what? The Hanukkah tracker, like we had a latke tracker. We had like a 3-digit scoreboard tracking the consumption of the latkes. We got up to 999, and then we just had to stop counting. There were that many latkes that were consumed tonight. So we're all hopped up on sour cream and applesauce and fried potatoes here to talk about just a really what started as a pretty dull hockey game that quickly got very concerning, certainly would be a word you could use from a Jets fan, and then became certainly one of the Jets' best comebacks of this season, where the team shows a hell of a lot of intestinal fortitude in admittedly against a bad opponent, but not caving in a third period where they came out and said, no, we are going to still take on this victory and move into first place in the Central Division. Good to see you guys on this Sunday night.
Yeah, what's up, boys? Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on this Sunday night. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, this win is definitely going to be overshadowed by the uncertainty surrounding Kyle Connor's injury, right? And you know, everybody knows that it's his right leg and most likely his knee, but then the question becomes, is it a sprain? Is it a tear? We're not going to pretend to be orthopedic surgeons. I've been worked on by an orthopedic surgeon. I've torn my ACL and my MCL before in a Jewish Students Association floor hockey game. That was a good 15 or so years ago.
But obviously, it was longer than 15 years ago there, big boy.
Maybe 17 or 18 years ago. But the reality is, you know, Connor's going to miss some time. And, you know, it's a dirty hit. It was a 5-minute major and a game misconduct to Ryan Strome. You know, and I know we're going to be talking about this throughout the course of the post-game show. I don't like that Mark Scheifele drops his gloves there, because then you don't have Mark Scheifele for the 5-minute power play. And I don't think you need to stand up for your teammate there. I just don't like that. I Drew,
disagree with you.
I don't mind the fighting, but I just don't think he needed to fight there, and it takes him off the power play.
Doesn't matter. You see your teammate down on the ice. You see that he's been injured by a dirty hit. Mark Scheifele demonstrated a degree of leadership that we haven't seen from him for the last number of years. I have no problem with his reaction there. In fact, I applaud his reaction there and think that, you know, as he's continued to grow this year and become a different and better player, his immediate response there is just part and parcel with that continued growth, Dave.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was my initial reaction. I said on Twitter/X that the right decision by Mark Scheifele was to drop the gloves and come to Kyle Connor's defense. When you see a teammate, a guy who's, you know, we've talked about it, he's not a guy who misses any games due to injury, and he's lying there and he's not moving. Your first reaction, I agree with Ezzy from a practical standpoint. You know, from a practical standpoint, you don't want to lose Mark Scheifele. I understand that element of it, but from a reactionary thing, which of course hockey is, you understand why he drops the glove immediately and, you know, goes. He doesn't know it's going to be a 5-minute major. In his mind, the refs could have missed the call or could have called it a 2-minute. So he's sending a message. So I think it's the right play, because I think you just, you know, he wears a letter. And he's got to come to the defense. You'd expect it from Adam Lowry. You'd expect it from anybody, really, Brendan Dillon. So I don't have a problem with it. I understand the rationale as is espousing. I just think that is in this instance, it's the right play by Scheifele, because you want to see that these guys are sticking up for each other, even though it costs him those 5 minutes on the major.
I have to highlight bye Blake's comment. It's very funny. Ezzy's just mad that no one fought on behalf of Ezzy when you got injured in that floor hockey game that caused you to tear up your knee all those years ago. But from my perspective, Scheifele, look, you see your opponent on the ice. I think what we've learned, going back to Gabe Vilardi, and we'll talk about Gabe Vilardi because, of course, he had the game-winning goal in tonight's game. Players on the ice, it's so much of a slower game for the players on the ice. They know when something is dirty. So us in the in the press box, or us in the media, or fans watching at home, it might look innocuous, it might look innocent. Players know when something happens on the ice that is beyond the pale. Mark Scheifele knows here that Ryan Strome sticks out his knee, right? Mark Scheifele knows that Ryan Strome has, I don't know that he tried to injure Kyle Connor, but you have to expect that when you stick out your knee, it can lead to an injury. Mark Scheifele knows that. He knows what Strome did. His response is with the knowledge that this guy just tried to take out, certainly one of our best players, certainly one of our best goal scorers, and, screw the power play. That will work. That's a separate issue, for later. And I understand where your perspective is, Ezzy, that had Scheifele been on the ice, perhaps the Jets get, a couple goals on what was a lame power play, a lame 5-minute major there. But in that reaction, in that moment, I think Mark Scheifele did what he needed to do. Think about all the nonsense that we heard out of Toronto when I can't remember even which Leafs player was injured on that hit, and nobody responded in kind. In this case, that won't. It's the flip side from the Jets' perspective is they were spitting glass. They responded quickly, and I do believe that carries over in coming back and winning this game. That they sagged certainly when the hit happened, and they sagged in that second period after they saw Connor and came to the realization that Connor wasn't going to be back. But then that third period, they came back with a proverbial burr in their saddle and said, we're not going to lose this game against a weaker opponent now that we're really pissed off about what that weaker opponent did. And kudos to the Jets for that, from my perspective, Ezzy.
Yeah, they beat the third worst team in the league. The problem is now they're not going to have Kyle Connor. So, I mean, it's over, right? Like, not the season. I mean, it's that Kyle Connor is going to be out for an extended period of time. We don't know how long, but it's probably going to be at least a few weeks, right? So, yeah, it's an incredible victory, but Kyle Connor's long-term health, I think, is the biggest concern right now.
Yeah, there's no question that the long-term health of Kyle Connor is, and once the emotion of it all fades away, that's going to be what's difficult for the Jets to have to fill in that gap. Because, Gabe Vilardi coming back in the lineup, we've seen that Gabe Vilardi is not the same player he was, or not yet the same player he was before the knee injury. So who knows what the state of Kyle Connor is going to be. And the time will tell. We'll find out about that, if not tonight, then over the next couple of days as the Jets, of course, continue on this road trip. But I do believe that showing up tonight in the third period in the manner that the Jets did, I'm not sure that the last couple of years worth of Jets teams, Dave, would have been able to show up in the same manner that the Jets did to avenge their fallen teammate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. And look, there's no point in speculating because we don't know how long he's going to be out, and we'll get an assessment from Rick Bowness tonight. I suspect whatever he'll say is we'll see tomorrow what it brings. They're heading to San Jose after the game, where they'll take the Sharks on Tuesday. So, I mean, to me, you like the fight back. You like the comeback. It was a sleepy game. I was hoping that I'm happy to see so many of you in the chat right now, because after that first period, I thought we'd all be falling asleep and forget about, the post-game show at that point. Got a little more spicy, a little more heated finally. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tough situation when you lose a guy like Kyle Connor, who's been such a important piece of this Jets club and who scores, he's right there amongst the goal leaders in the good one by Spency. Now the Jets have some room for Ohtani, but it is.
I thought he's going to Toronto.
What's that?
I thought he's going to Toronto.
Well, potentially, but the fact is that it's tough, and we'll see what happens. But the mentality has to be that when a guy goes down, even a guy who's got 17 goals on your team, we'll see if the plug and play aspect of this Jets club can maintain. And that's what we're going to find out. And we don't know. We don't know the extent of that. This could be a stinger, it could be whatever. It could be simply precautionary, or it could be significant. So we'll find that out when we find that out. But for now, we have to look at the hockey game that we witnessed tonight in Anaheim.
Yeah, and it isn't, obviously, it's not a must-win game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a game the Jets want to win. They know what happened last night on the out-of-town scoreboard, and even though it is too early in the season to really be doing a lot of a standings watch, but they know that basically everybody around them in the Central Division lost, and they knew the opportunity that was sitting in front of them, and that opportunity was first place in the Central Division. And for a while there, especially in that third period when Anaheim took the 2-0 lead, it looked like it was going to be a combination of bad and worse for the Jets tonight. And you can say whichever one was bad, whichever one was worse, between losing the game and losing Kyle Connor. But the fact that they were able to come back and now are atop the Central Division is something they can be proud of. I mean, you don't get any awards for it, you don't get any medals for it, but after 26 games, the Jets are the top team in their division, and that's something that I don't think any of us really were expecting to say at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt that this was an impressive win. Like you said, when Adam Henrique scored the goal to put the Ducks up 2-0, I mean, the Jets were in trouble there. And they're down Kyle Connor, their best player. The second period was not good for the Jets. They were the better team in the first period. I think most people would agree with that. But the 5-minute power play definitely sucked a lot of momentum away from the Jets. I think there were only 2 shots, and if I'm not mistaken, Josh Morrissey had both of them. So it's an impressive win for sure, considering the context. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the Jets are in first place right now. Ahead of the Colorado Avalanche. I think they still have a game in hand, or maybe it's the same amount of games in hand. Pardon me, the
Jets
same
have
amount
a game.
of games,
Jets
but
have
they're
a game
first,
in hand.
So you're right. I mean, it's not necessarily where we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. And I think, a lot of people are going to have to change their expectations for the Jets. I think, this is, whether you want to call them elite, they're certainly, right now they're playing like an upper echelon team, whatever word you want to use. They're just a good hockey team. And, there's a lot of hockey to be played in the regular season, but I mean, the record speaks for itself, right?
And the other thing I would jump on is defensively, right? This is a team that's limiting goals against. And as he's right, you saw that Henry
3 a game.
Yeah, that's what, 16 games in a row now, Drew. So I mean, it's a pretty impressive stat. It's one we talked about with Craig Button yesterday. It's one we talked about ourselves on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show yesterday morning. So I mean, that is one of the elements of this team, and you said it. And again, I don't know where they stand as of right now. I'm sure you can look it up as I'm talking, where their goals against stands. But as you spoke to Ezzy and I yesterday morning, the Jets were atop the NHL, tied with the Bruins and was it the Kings?
Bruins and Kings.
Yeah. So the Bruins and the Kings were, and the Kings and the Rangers are doing battle tonight in New York. But the Jets defensively have been a much better team. And so you wanted to see that continue. And as he's right, the Ducks aren't a very good team. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. I thought we might see former Winnipeg Jets draft pick 2014 fourth rounder Chase DeLeo, who's the captain of the San Diego Gulls, but he was dealing with it. I think he had an MCL injury. So
hopefully Chase Jr. would be around too.
Yes, that's true. But I think he's been out he just got back in the lineup for San Diego. But the fact is that the Ducks have dealt with a lot of injuries. They're not a very good team. They still have some NHL players, and they've got who is it, Vetrano, who's got 14 goals. So they can still, and John Gibson. I mean, I highlighted it before the game started. Connor Hellebuyck and John Gibson. Since Connor Hellebuyck got into the league as a full-time NHL goaltender in 15-16, he and John Gibson have faced more shots than any other goaltending pair in the entire league. It's crazy. Like, I think, although it's amazing because Hellebuyck has actually faced about 14,000 shots in that time, and Gibson's about 13,000. But their goals against averages and their save percentages are very similar. So two guys that have faced a lot of rubber in their day going head to head. So it was going to be an interesting game from that element of it. But look, you like the fact that the Jets, had some sort of gumption and played for their teammates and came out with a win.
30 minutes and 17 seconds. The time on ice tonight for Josh Morrissey.
Wow.
I mean, that's
Wow.
it's over half the game. I mean, usually you might get that number if a game goes into an overtime period, but to play more than half the game regulation is just an incredible number. Now, admittedly, of that 30 minutes, 10 of it was on the power play because the Jets had so many power play minutes, but Josh Morrissey was an absolute beast for the Winnipeg Jets tonight, and he was certainly one of the driving forces behind the Jets coming back in this game in getting the victory. He had 2 assists in the game as well. But 30 minutes of ice time, Ezzy, is not something we're used to hearing, from a guy like Josh Morrissey, who's certainly continuing to grow. I believe I saw post game Mark Scheifele said that this was. Let me see if I can find the quote. That Mark Scheifele said that something along the lines of this. This was Josh Morrissey's. Mark Scheifele called tonight's game perhaps the most impressive game of Josh Morrissey's career. So that's pretty high praise from Mark Scheifele talking about Josh Morrissey playing more than 30 minutes in tonight's game, Ezzy.
Yeah, we talked about it on the 5-minute power play. Jets only had 2 shots. Morrissey had both of them, and then obviously he assists on Morgan Barron's goal and also Gabe Velarde's goal, which was the eventual game winner, right? So he was great. I mean, you just don't see defensemen play 30 minutes that often anymore. So I agree with what you said about Morrissey. I don't know if you could say that was his best game ever, but he was certainly the best defenseman on the ice.
Yeah, he was very impressive for the Winnipeg Jets. Look, I'll give the Jets credit. They stepped up. That they really did. They stepped up in a difficult situation in that third period, especially when you're down. I'll be honest, when they're down 1-0 at the start of the third, fine. 1 goal, anything can happen there. But when you're down 2-0, and we'll get into the Betway game recap momentarily here, Dave. When you're down 2-0 and you're without Kyle Connor and you looked a little lethargic for a lot of the last, let's say 25 minutes of the game or so, to them to then find that second wave and that second boost and then say, no, we're going to win this game and we're going to win in regulation. I don't know that it's not a turning point because the Jets have been on an upward trajectory all year long,
Right.
But it's certainly something that shows that this team has maybe a little bit more drive and a little more heart than some of the most recent squads.
Well, I mean, look, I think the reality is that we've often, you want to talk historically, Drew, we've seen Jets teams in the past would kind of turn their tail. And even though they've won 3 in a row, say, all right, tonight's not our night.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just lament it and they'll, fold their tent for the third period. And they didn't do that. And you're right. When that was 2-0, you're kind of like, oy, that's not going to be good for business. And yet they didn't. And, it starts with guys like Nino Niederreiter, of course, who's, got a nonstop engine. I thought David Gustafson again had another solid game, was very important in that second goal by Morgan Barron. So I think that was the other thing, right? You had those guys who were, pushing and not allowing the team to quit. And so that to me, and like you just talked about, Josh Morrissey playing over 30 minutes. I mean, it's this whole team is not a team that we're used to seeing. And I know that folks are waiting for the shoe to drop, that this is last year's team and they're very similar and you're going to see that, but I don't see it this year. I really don't see this year's team as last year's team. And Rick Bowness has been very fond of saying, what's happened in the past, man, it's in the past. But I'm kind of tending to agree with him now because we're not seeing. I mean, again, I know that last year we thought the same thing, and the Jets record actually, well, now it might be about the same, but was better because they did go on a little bit of a run just around this point where they won 3 or 4 games in a row, and then they started to fold a little bit. But again, you just want to see that this team can just keep churning it out, and we'll see what they can do against San Jose on Tuesday, and again, big game with the Kings on Wednesday.
No question about it. Rick Bowness, speaking to the media in Anaheim, Kyle Connor will be further evaluated tomorrow. So no formal update, no surprise there, no insight into what the situation is. Doesn't look good, certainly, but we'll find out more tomorrow, which means, of course, you'll have to keep it locked to illegalcurve.com for all your latest on Kyle Connor. And of course, later after the post-game show, illegalcurve.com will have your comprehensive game recap from tonight's 4-2 Jets victory over the Anaheim Ducks. Let's get into the game recap courtesy of our friends at Betway.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you're looking for a place to lay a wager legally, you should choose Betway, the most trusted name in sports betting. For more information and to bet your way, check out Betway. Big thanks to them for their continued support. So we mentioned that, the first period, 14-8 shots on goal in the first period, and it was a relatively, I would describe, normal first period up until, of course, the Kyle Connor injury. That's when everything was quickly turned on its head. That injury coming at the 27-second mark of the second period. So the first period where I thought the Jets played well against an opponent that they really are better than. They outshot the Ducks 14-8 in the first period, and after 20 minutes, I'd say it was pretty normal, pretty straightforward. Nothing that anybody would have expected was going to result in one of the more noteworthy, newsworthy contests of the season so far. So that really don't need much to get into in that first period. I'd say, aside from what we talked about, Jets had a couple of power play opportunities in that first period. Troy Terry takes a tripping penalty at 7:03. No dice for the Jets. The Ducks take a too many men on the ice penalty at the 12:44 mark of the first period. Again, no dice for the Winnipeg Jets. Power play certainly wasn't good even before Kyle Connor got injured in that second period.
Yeah, and I think, the goal that was scored in the second period, it's Neil Pionk is in the penalty box for holding the stick, and it's Troy Terry and Max Jones kind of playing catch to the right of Connor Hellebuck.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of focus was on Brendan Dillon here and how he goes down. And obviously, no problem with that play, right? Like, he's trying to disrupt. They've got a bit of the triangle going there. And, it's just a rebound, right? Like Alex Killorn, a guy that, kind of reminded me of Ryan Kessler, wearing the same number and the same type of player, obviously two-time Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning. But yeah, look, it's just Troy Terry puts the puck on net, and Brendan Dillon is just a step behind Alex Killorn there, and he puts it behind Connor Hellebuck. And I think there was only about 10 seconds left on the power play.
Yeah, so the power play goal for the Ducks comes at the 16:07 mark of the second period. You're absolutely right. There were exactly 10 seconds left. Neil Pionk was in the box for holding the stick. That second period, again, that injury to Kyle Connor, and that's certainly going to be the headline. Would be the headline. Sorry, let me just go on a bit of a tangent. If one of the top 5 goal scorers in the league goes down, and let's say that top 5 goal scorer's name is Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews or anybody that doesn't play on the Winnipeg Jets, Twitter, X, social media would be abuzz by the insiders.
Okay.
It happens for Kyle Connor, probably the least appreciated, greatest goal scorer in the NHL currently. Not a word. They took Sunday off and they kept Sunday off. It jumps out at you. It's all I'm saying. It's noticeable how when things happen here, and I know that it's the reality of being Winnipeg and being a small market and everything else, but it just, for whatever reason, it annoyed me particularly tonight that nobody from the great mecca of media in Toronto batted an eye at Kyle Connor going down on a dirty hit. And it's going to take, if maybe they'll notice tomorrow if there's not big news in Leafs land, but that bothered me tonight. Kyle Connor, never mind Winnipeg.
Yeah.
But Kyle Connor, as an elite goal scorer in the league, deserves better. The NHL.
Are you saying that there's just been lack of attention, lack of tweeting about it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Unless you were watching tonight's game, and unless you're a Jets fan and a Ducks fan, you probably weren't watching tonight's game. Nobody has said,
after that first period, I don't know how many Jets fans were still watching that game.
Nobody has said word one about that injury. Not one of the not one of the big, the capital M media.
You're talking about
guys.
on Twitter, because TSN has it on their website.
Yeah,
but
okay, I'm talking about Twitter, which is where a lot of people still go, for better or worse, for their sports news and for their immediate sports analysis.
I think it's actually just bizarre because Kyle Connor is not just where he is currently behind Nikita Kucherov. He has been for quite some time one of the best goal scorers. So whatever subjective term you want to use, top 5, top 10, whatever. So to me, it is a little bit bizarre because it is a significant injury. Again, we don't know how long Kyle Connor is going to be out. It could be one game. It could be 2 games. It could be 2 months. We have no idea. So it's all speculation at this point. We have to wait until tomorrow. But yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, I haven't been glued to Twitter or /X. Like, so I have no idea if, guys like Elliot Friedman, Darren Drager, Pierre LeBrun, I have no idea. I can't speak for them, but it is bizarre that they haven't put something out on social media.
And to that, so while Drew was talking and you were finishing up your thoughts, I went to Dreger's. He did retweet that the Maple Leafs goaltender Joseph Woll is out week to week with a high ankle sprain, but
that happened yesterday.
Yeah, but I'm saying that Dreger's been.
Drew's right. That was yesterday. So
no, I know, but I'm saying so he retweeted that yesterday, but nothing today, and I haven't checked Friedman. Look, I mean, guys, this is not breaking news by any stretch. When we remember Gabriel Velarde's comments about the injury that he suffered when Blake Lizotte, his former teammate, took him out.
Yeah.
And what was my comment? I was like, how the hell is that not making waves? Like, he basically called his teammate an idiot and said it was a stupid thing to do. And again, it reverberated here in this market, and in LA, it made a lot of waves, but elsewhere it just doesn't. And that's just the reality. And look, I mean, I think that the Jets, if we're going to bring this back to hockey, I think the Jets like having that chip on their shoulder. I think the Jets like having the disrespect, if you will. Maybe the fans and the folks in the chat, they also like that disrespect because, maybe that'll make the victories all the more sweet when folks in Toronto have to pay notice. But I mean, again, it is what it is, and that's just the reality. But hey, that's why you come to illegalcurve.com or the Illegal Curve Hockey Show or the Illegal Curve Postgame Show, because we have the Jets, the Moose covered inside and out.
Breaking news: Ryan Reeves just took a dump. I think they're breaking into live coverage to talk about that. So 1-0 for the Anaheim
movement.
Yeah, 1-0 for the Anaheim Ducks after 40 minutes. The Jets certainly looked a little lethargic in that second period, coming to the realization that they are going to be without Kyle Connor, certainly for the remainder of the game. The Jets PR team tweeted that out, and that was no surprise to any of us in the power play.
Terrible 27th birthday present.
Yeah, it was his birthday yesterday, so congratulations. Yeah, your knee has been taken out on a dirty play by a guy hanging on to his NHL career by a thread, and now the Jets just have to hope that Kyle Connor's knee is still held together by more than just a thread after that dirty play by Ryan Strome there. 1-0 for the Ducks after 40 minutes, and it gets from bad.
Andrew,
to
hold on.
worse.
We should say the power play was anemic, and it's not just the 5-minute. It was the minors as well. The power play just didn't have it going on, and it was like. And the other thing I'm going to say, and I wonder what the people in the chat have to say about this, but like the ice, and I mean that obviously both teams have to play on the same ice, so it's not that this is a poor Jets thing, but the ice looked like it was terrible. And Morgan Barron blew a couple tires skating, and then you saw Ehlers at one point during the play was like fixing the ice. So it just seemed very unusual, and maybe that impacted the way, but the passing seemed off. Like it really didn't seem crisp from the Jets tonight. And so again, I think that's a function of maybe where they were playing a little bit. Maybe they were a little demoralized losing 81, but I also thought that the ice just didn't look fantastic.
I would agree with your assessment there. There was a concert at the arena last night in Anaheim. That's why the Jets had to get dressed.
What concert?
It was a Christmas concert, apparently. I'm not sure who was performing. I'm not entirely sure who was on stage.
I had no idea, Drew, that you were that in touch with what was going on in Anaheim.
I think I saw it from our buddy Mike McIntyre, who's on the road trip. I admittedly was not keeping a close eye on the Honda Center events calendar, but Mike was able to pass along that nugget. That's why the Jets practiced at the Ducks practice facility, but they had to dress at the Honda Center and then board a bus to get, which is certainly very much a minor hockey sort of vibes, as Mike alluded to in his column or his article, which you can find, of course, on illegalcurve.com, linking to the article on the Free Press website. 1-0 for the Jets, and the Jets come close to tying it up.
1-0 for the Ducks.
1-0 for the Ducks, pardon me. 1-0 for the Ducks after 40 minutes, and the Jets come close to tying it up early in that third period. It was my brain has gone blank for a second. Hang on, I will find out exactly who it was. Alex Iafallo, that's who it was. Rang went off the crossbar, and the Jets came that close to tying it. But what happens, as it so often does in hockey and in sports, the other team goes down the other length of the ice and ends up scoring when you came that close to tying it up. Adam Henrique, his 5th of the year, assist to Silverberg and Radko Gudas, this at the 1:15 mark of the second period, as he probably not a great goal that Connor Hellebuyck gives up here.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Radko Gudas makes a nice pass to Jacob Silverberg, who's at center, and Silverberg finds a streaking Adam Henrique. But you're absolutely right. I mean, this is not not a goal that Connor Hellebuck's going to like.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, Henrique scored a lot of goals in the NHL, right? You guys know I followed him a lot closer when he was with the Devils, but I think he's been with the Ducks for 5 or 6 years now, Dave. So Henrique's a guy that's, he's had his fair share of goals in the NHL, but yeah, it kind of looked like what would be a routine save. And I'm not sure if it's maybe Hellebuck's going a little bit left to right there. Like, it was a nicely placed shot, but you're right. I mean, it seemed like a shot that Hellebuck would normally save, Drew, I think is what you were trying to say. And at that point in the game, that was only a minute and 15 into the third, I think. So you're down 2-0. And, Kelly Moore mentioned this. I was listening to the radio broadcast between the second and third period. And Kelly Moore mentioned, I think he said that the Ducks have only been leading 3 times prior to tonight's game. So this would have been 4 times that the Ducks have
all year.
Yes. And obviously this is their first loss. Yes. We're 25, 26 games into the season, and they've only led 4 times after 2 periods. So going up 2-0, the bench probably thought, okay, I mean, this is going to be, win number 4.
Our time to shine.
But, the Jets obviously fought back. But yeah, I mean, that was not, let's say, the prettiest goal that Connor Hellebuck has let in.
No, but what was pretty, Dave, was the Jets' response to that goal.
Yeah.
And that's almost where they said, okay, enough's enough. We're going to get this one. And it takes all of 43 seconds later, Nino Niederreiter gets his 7th of the year, assist to Vlad Nemesnikov and Brendan Dillon. And this is just Nemesnikov with a really nice effort and a really nice play. And Niederreiter is exactly where you expect him to be, right in front of the goalie, right outside the blue paint. And it's on his stick and off his stick and in the net and out of the net so quickly that a lot of players barely had time to react and even notice that it actually was a good goal for the Winnipeg Jets, cutting the Ducks lead in half.
Yeah, and look, there's a couple things that deserve kudos on this one. First of all, Vlad Nemesnikov coming back after missing the last 3 games. And, he was talking to Dan Robertson during the first intermission and talked about just trying to get back into the flow of the game. And, it's not easy when you've missed some time. And obviously he hasn't played a game in December. So this was his first one. And so he's a very calculated player. You can see the way he kind of thinks the game as he's skating, and he finds that spot. And so good on him to kind of go wide and get to the fault, use the wall, get into that deep into the Duck zone. And then you got to credit Nino Niederreiter because he basically goes right to the house with 4 Ducks around him and creates that enough space for himself that when he gives himself he gives himself that opportunity. He lets himself be there, I should say, for Vlad Nemesnikov to make that pass. And you're right, Drew. I mean, it was funny because we're watching that. Ez and I are watching it, and I'm like, did that go in? Because it looked like it went in, but the camera really didn't indicate that it went in. Nobody really reacted. John Gibson didn't even react as if it had gone in. So you're watching it, and you're like, I think it went in, but I'm not certain if it went in. So yeah, I mean, it's critical to score that quickly because, when Connor Hellebuck gives up that second goal, which you don't love because he saw it from a distance, you're thinking to yourself, is this going to be what we've seen traditionally from the Jets? But instead, quick strike back. Now suddenly it's a 2-1 game, and you're thinking, well, the Jets are look, there's lots of time, even if they hadn't, because it was so early in the third. But still, you like that type of goal because then you have a feeling the Jets are going to start to find their game a little bit more.
That's just straight up. And that's why Nino Niederreiter is beloved by a lot of Jets fans, because that's a power move, right? That's just a power forward. Like, I think it was Cam Fowler, right? Dave, the defenseman that he beats to the front of the net there. I thought it was Fowler. But yeah, that's just a power forward move. And like you said, that's a huge goal to just, take some momentum back for the Jets. But yeah, great work by Nemesnikov, who starts that play kind of around center ice and, puts a nice pass in front for Niederreiter. But just a great, there's no other way you can describe it by just saying, it's a great net drive by Nino.
Yeah, it's a great net drive. It was actually, I think it was either Gudas or it was Vakanainen who were the defensemen on the ice for the Ducks on that one. But I can understand. Yeah, the point is you go to a spot where you're going to be in a dangerous area, but you also allow yourself to be in a good spot to receive the pass.
Yep.
There's you're going hard, but you're also going strategically hard. And that's just sort of what the veteran players are so good at doing, in as they get older in their career, is finding that proverbial soft ice that you hear talked about so much, so that even though you're in the dirty area, you're also in a position to receive the pass and capitalize on it. You're not putting yourself where you're not in a position to take advantage of a nice play and a nice pass, and that's what Nino Niederreiter is so good at doing. So Jets cut it to 2-1. They get a real good bounce back to the Ducks 2-0 goal, and then the Jets tie it up a little less, 3 minutes and 57 seconds later. So just under 4 minutes later, it is a tie game. Morgan Barron, again, you're going hard to the net.
Yep.
Morgan Barron getting his 5th of the year, assist to Josh Morrissey and David Gustafsson. And this is, a shot from Morrissey that is just sort of sitting there. Nobody can really track it, but Morgan Barron is there fighting and winning a puck battle and sort of chipping it past John Gibson to tie the game up at 2, about just under 6 minutes into the third period.
Yeah, and I made a note of this. Dave and I were watching the game here like we normally do, and Morgan Barron breaks up a possible 2-on-0.
Yes,
right.
Good
so
point.
you got to start off with that, right? Like
Yeah.
Morgan Barron makes a really nice defensive play, kind of around center, near the Jets' blue line. Breaks up a pass. I forget who made the pass, but we're watching the replay here. But yeah, I mean, this is another great net drive. Morrissey puts the puck on net, and now I know who the defenseman is here. It is Ilya Lyubushkin. He just has the puck in his skates, and he just doesn't clear it. Right. So this is not a beautiful goal. Originally, I thought, Morrissey put the puck on net and kind of Barron deflected it in. But no, Ilya Lyubushkin is in front of John Gibson. Puck's in his skates, like I mentioned. He just doesn't clear it, right? And give Morgan Barron credit. Again, drives the net, goes to the net, and whacks it in. So again, who cares if it's a quote-unquote ugly goal? Tied the game up for the Jets, and that was a huge goal, right? We talked about it. The Ducks have not led a lot of games after 2 periods. They go, up 2-0. Now the game is tied. The Jets have all the momentum at that point. So good on Morgan Barron. Obviously, he's playing on the 4th line, has played on the 4th line the majority of the year. Might see him in an elevated role. For example, if Nino Niederreiter gets moved up into the top 6, Morgan Barron might play with his old buddies, Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton. But yeah, just again, these are just kind of hard-working goals. And these are the types of goals that you have to score when you're down 2-0. And it kind of, let's be honest, this was a bit of an ugly game, right? Like this was kind of the first period, like this game was scoreless for almost half of the game, more than half the game, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card, right? With the way the Ducks, like without Jamie Drysdale, without Trevor Zegras and Mason McTavish, I certainly thought, the Jets would be up 2-0 or 3-0, not the other way around in the third period. So yeah, good on Morgan Barron. That's just great hard work being rewarded, really.
Yeah.
And look, first of all, Ezzy's Ginsburg guarantee from yesterday's show comes true. 16 straight games for the Jets without giving up 3 goals or more. But the other person that you should call that deserves a kudos on this goal is David Gustafsson, because he keeps the puck in at the Ducks line, then feeds it over to Josh Morrissey. And David Gustafsson, again, he's only got the 2 goals and 1 assist, but you can just feel like he's the kind of guy he's playing right now like a guy who doesn't want to be taken out of the lineup. He's playing, and again, I don't say that because I think he's playing with fear. I think he's just playing like a very assertive, aggressive style that he knows is making him integral to the lineup, and one that's not going to see him casually removed when, and of course now with the injury to Kyle Connor, he doesn't have to worry about that as much, but you never know, right? And so actually Johnson-Fjällby comes out with Vlad Nemestikov's return today, and you saw, I think, from David Gustafsson again, more and more. We saw it in the last game. We talked about it as he talked about it. And I think he's continuing that in this game, in this season so far. So you like that. And suddenly it's a 2-2 game. And suddenly you're going, whoa, okay, well, this is more of what you're expecting from the Jets. And suddenly now they're in it to win it.
They are certainly back tied up at 2s at this point of the third period. The Jets have all the momentum, though. I mean, again, you're playing against an Anaheim team that is fragile at the best of times because they're really not a good hockey team. So, and they know, these guys know when you're a good hockey team and when you're not a good hockey team, and they know that they're not a very good hockey team. So the Jets just need to keep the pedal on the metal and both teams had some chances. The Ducks almost retook the lead. The Jets almost took the lead. There was a couple loose pucks. I remember the Connor Hellebuck poke check. That was where I can't remember.
Which was terrible defense by the Jets.
Terrible defense, no question.
It was atrocious.
Yeah. I can't remember which Ducks player was basically in all alone, but Connor Hellebuck managed to outweight him and poke the puck away, because
was it Max Jones?
It might have been. I think that's exactly right, Ezzy. It certainly looked like, I was watching that happen. I'm like, okay, well, this looks like it's going to be a goal for Anaheim.
Hellebuck, that was a game saver. I mean,
it really was.
I forget if it was a pure poke check or if it was him kind of just leaning his body forward. But what he did was he basically angled Max Jones out of a scoring chance, right? Because he never got a shot off.
That's right.
Well, he knew. He was like, I'm not letting Ezra Ginsburg be wrong. I can't give up a third goal. 2 is fine, but I'm not giving up a third.
Yeah, look at Connor Hellebuck looking out for your best interest there, as he
has no clue who I am.
Yeah, well,
that's not true.
But chances at both ends. That was a big play by Connor Hellebuck, and then the Jets get the game-winning goal off the stick of Gabe Vilardi, and this, even though it's a tip, is our Seagrams shot of the game.
The Seagrams shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagrams. I have a lot of cleaning I have to go do after the show ends, so I might as well do it while I have a little bit of a buzz on. So hang on. It was a small shot, but big thanks to our friends at Seagrams.
I never, in my early 30s, I never thought that Drew, I'm in my early 40s now, by the way, for those who don't know, but I never thought that Drew would become a bigger drinker than me. Like, he's drinking the icy beer, he's drinking Fireball. Didn't see that coming, but.
Well, sometimes we become degenerates at different points in our lives. You were a degenerate from the solid ages of about 14 to 39. And so I'm starting a little bit late. I'm a late bloomer, let's just say, things of that nature.
Well, Fireball, I think I don't know if it was last show or a couple shows ago. I mean, it just goes down so smoothly.
Yeah.
So thanks. Shout out again to Seagrams for making my Fireball dreams come true.
There you go.
And for all the and for all the T-shirts that they gave all the folks that we distributed at the last show at Boston Pizza.
Yeah, last Thursday at the live broadcast of Boston Pizza, our friends at Seagrams were kind enough to provide some swag that we were able to give out to all those.
We've got lots more.
Dave is the swag king.
Yes,
Dave M always has swag. Dave M is never empty-handed. Like, if we're doing a live on location, Dave will have illegal curve mini sticks, illegal curve pucks. He'll have farmery stuff, Seagram stuff, something. He always aims to please.
There you go. Exactly right. So our Seagram shot of the game goes to Gabe Vilardi, his first goal as a member of the Winnipeg Jets, and it's a game-winning goal. It comes at the 18-18 mark of the third period, assist to Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello. And this tip is just incredible. The level of skill needed to be able to perform this tip, this level of eye-hand coordination, I honestly thought, I'm like, how did he tip that? I thought he was like standing basically by the boards when he got that tip on that puck. It's a shot from Morrissey from the point, and Gabe Vilardi he's not screening John Gibson. He's to the side of John Gibson, and he's not really in what you would describe as a high probability area for a tip, but he is able to get his stick on the puck and redirect it past John Gibson. No chance for the Ducks goaltender, but this is just such an incredibly high skill play by Gabe Vilardi for his first goal as a member of the Jets and for the game-winning goal in tonight's contest for the Jets.
Okay, I don't mean to bring this up. I don't know how many people are watching the replay right now. Gabe Vilardi might have got away with a little bit of a slew foot there. Watch
earlier in the play.
Watch the play. Yeah. Radko Gudas is the defenseman. I didn't notice this, Dave, until now. But actually, if you watch the replay, there's a little bit of a Gabe Vilardi, and I like Gabe Vilardi, and obviously, happy that the Jets won. But Radko Gudas and Gabe Vilardi are kind of side by side, and there's a little bit of a trip there. And then Radko Gudas obviously gets up, and it's not him that takes Vilardi. It would be, who's his D partner here? Who did we say earlier?
Would it be Vakanainen?
Vakanainen, yes. Yeah. Number 5.
So
Vakanainen is
Urho Vakanainen, a household name.
Household name. Urho Vakanainen. So it's actually Vakanainen, the defenseman, that takes Gabe Vilardi. But just saying, for people in the chat, don't necessarily have to watch it. Just watch the replay. Watch like 3 or 4 seconds before the goal. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Gabe Vilardi. All I'm saying is you can see on the replay that he might have gotten away with a little bit of a slew foot. At the end of the day, who cares? The Jets win. Vilardi scores his first goal as a Jet. All I'm saying is there might have been a little bit of a trip there on Gudas.
Well, Radko Gudas has never tried to perform any illegal activities on the ice or anything.
Maybe there was a little bit of karma there, right, Drew?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but the one thing you have to talk about is the fact that you're right, Drew. I mean, when Ez and I first watched it, we're like, did Morrissey somehow get that in? Because it didn't seem like there was anyone even close to blocking Gibson's eyes. And then you realize that he's a good, seems like he's 5 feet away from even being anywhere close to a difficult area. But again, you credit Gabriel Vilardi for, having the presence of mind to have his stick available. And the defenseman, it's kind of like watching a football. Guys, not paying attention to the play. And Vilardi tips that home beautifully. And it's his first goal for the Jets. And the one thing I liked from the play was I liked that the Jets were still pressing. They felt you could sense that the Ducks, I thought the Ducks were sitting back, hoping to just get to overtime and think anything can happen in OT. But to me, I like that the Jets kept pushing because I think the Jets were smelling a little bit of blood in the water and anticipating that there was going to be an opportunity for them to take out Anaheim. So I like that they kept pushing. And again, it's appropriate that it's Josh Morrissey because he was, as we talked about, such an important part of this game. So he puts it on. And Vlad Mesnikov, again, important in that play because he was in the scrum. He's the one who originally dug the puck out and then put it back to the point. And it was DeMello to Morrissey, right? And then Vilardi tips that home. So 3-2, and it's a minute 42 left in the third. So at that point, it's just about wrapping it up because it really didn't feel like the Ducks were going to be able to get anything going to tie that game.
And the Jets made sure the Ducks weren't going to be able to get anything going. They kept possession, in the offensive zone, or at least on their stick until right about the 55-second mark. And then that's when the Ducks were able to gain the zone, but weren't able to do anything. And then a nice play, Nikolai Ehlers to Mark Scheifele. And this one even was had a little bit of a headhunt going on as Ehlers chipped the puck up. One of the Ducks players came in and missed him, but certainly noticed, took a run at Nikolai Ehlers to try and break up the play. And Mark Scheifele also noticed that after he put the puck in the net, he did a quick turnaround and told one of the Ducks players, gave him a piece of their mind. I don't know if he said the word frick or if he said any stronger language.
Ross Johnston, I think it was.
Ross Johnson, who of course played for the New York Islanders and was acquired off waivers by the Anaheim Ducks, I think maybe about a month ago or 6 weeks ago. Certainly one of the Ducks players took a bit of a run at Nikolai Ehlers, but missed. Ehlers with the nice chip into soft ice, and Scheifele, and there's sort of something poetic about it. Scheifele with the response on the Kyle Connor hit, and Scheifele into the empty net to give the Jets. And if you looked at the score and you didn't watch the game, you say, yeah, the Jets should beat the Anaheim Ducks 4-2. This game had more meaning, and this victory had more meaning for the Winnipeg Jets, and they're full marks for the 4-2 victory in Anaheim. Winners of 4 in a row now. The Jets are first in the Central Division, and they're next in action on Tuesday night.
Drew, it was Pavel Mintyukov, the first-round pick. It wasn't Ross Johnson, but you're right. I mean, he did take a bit of a run at Ehlers.
The Johnson family.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I mean, at the end of the day, they get the empty netter. The Jets win. It's their 4th win in a row and their first place in the Central. So all that matters right now is that, but also what matters is hopefully, this isn't going to be an ACL, MCL tear, and it's going to be shorter term because obviously if Kyle Connor is going to be out for 2 months, 3 months, whatever, longer possibly, I mean, that's going to affect the Jets offense big time.
Well, I'll tell you what, after we come back from break, Rick Bowness had some very interesting comments about that hit that was laid on Kyle Connor. The Jets had some interesting comments in their post-game media availability. We'll bring you some of those comments. We'll talk about those comments. We'll put them up, the quotes of those comments. So stay with us. Much more to come. It's a Sunday evening. The Jets victorious 4-2. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Much more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job, presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Betalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Betalytics.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Shortly after the bottom of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Reminder, so the Jets play Tuesday night. The game starts at 9:30, which means the post-game show is going to start Wednesday morning, right around 12:15 in the morning. So please join us Wednesday morning, bright and early, or very, very late, depending on your perspective. 12:15, give or take. It'll be the post-game show after the Jets and the San Jose Sharks. And then just because it's not enough late nights in a row, we're going to do it all again on Wednesday/Thursday morning after the Jets and the Los Angeles Kings.
Drew, we should be hitting up Frank and Mauro Zappia for some cappuccinos at that time of night. We're going to need them for the next couple games.
I need double, triple espresso at that point in time.
Espresso, cappuccino. We're going to need a lot of caffeine for those late night games.
Yes, there's no question we're going to need a lot of caffeine at that point in time. It's going to be a late night Tuesday and a late night Wednesday, so please join us then for post-game coverage after the Jets and the Sharks, and then the Jets and the Los Angeles Kings. Okay, so here's Rick Bowness on the Ryan Strome hit that injures Kyle Connor. Quote, this is courtesy of Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press, who's on site on the road trip through California, so we appreciate him bringing us these quotes. It's a knee on knee. He sticks his knee out. You hope that's suspendable. The referees made the right call. 5-minute major and a game misconduct, and we'll see where it goes from there. So that's the Jets head coach on the hit that injured Kyle Connor. And he's 100% right. It's not like, this is a blatant kneeing penalty. The player,
I just don't know if he gets suspended because there was a game misconduct.
You have to,
and again, Drew, I think, look, all things being equal, I think you could argue that's even more than a game, maybe even a couple games, 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, I literally don't know if we're going to see supplemental discipline because, as we've talked about, it's really the NHL Department of what the hell is going on, right? Like nobody knows like what plays are going to get suspensions or fines. So Rick Bowness is 100% right. All I'm saying is like, I'm not going to necessarily hold my breath that there's going to be a 1-game suspension. There could be. I'm just saying I'm not going to hold my breath.
I think that's fair. I think it's such a crapshoot to know what player safety is. I mean, look, we saw the whole controversy with the hits recently. Hits into the boards, right? And so you're like, one gets 0 minutes in penalties, another gets a 5 in a game.
Yeah.
There's no consistency, and so it's very difficult to know what the hell these guys are thinking half the time. And so until there is that sort of understanding that this is going to be what this type of when you again, it's funny if you just use the rule book. It's just the weirdest thing. You have rules, they're not hard to enforce. If you do this, you get this. If you do that, you get that. If it's determined that this looks like that, well, then you can give it you can account for it in that way. So these are the rules that the NHL has. Just follow the rules. And then, because the problem is the worst thing that you can have is a situation where people are going, like the coaches and the players, we don't know what the hell is going to be. Right. Yeah. And what you end up happening is guys take matters into their own hands, and then Evander Kane's claiming that Ryan Hartman is, dragging his skate across his face. And you've got other guys, like it becomes like, law of the jungle, because they're like, well, we don't trust the NHL to actually handle this. So we're going to take this into our own hands. And so it's an unfortunate situation in that regard because of the lack of transparency. I mean, like, honestly, those stupid videos that they put out with the monotone voice.
Do they still do those videos?
I don't know. I mean, the Jets haven't really been involved.
I think the question is, Drew, does anybody watch those videos if they do put them out, right? And I think to Drew's point, Drew mentioned this, in the first few minutes of the show. The worst part about this is that Kyle Connor was on pace for a career high in goals.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know. He could be back. He could be back earlier than we think. I mean, we just don't know. So
That's
like
right.
it looks bad right now, and everybody's thinking worst case scenario, right? But we just don't know. But like he could have, if he does stay healthy and play the majority of the games, we're talking about a potential 60 goal season. At the very least, he was on pace for well 50. Over 50 goals, right?
Sure.
So it's just unfortunate because he's having such a good year. And we were talking about this off air. Like Connor, I don't think a lot of people realize how many games he's played. Meaning he doesn't miss a lot of games. That's what I mean.
The last games he's missed were COVID related. I mean, he doesn't miss games due to injury.
No.
He's been a remarkably healthy player throughout the entirety of his career. And that part, part of being an exceptional player is being able to be counted on, is being reliably in your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Jets, since Kyle Connor broke into the NHL, has been reliably in the Jets lineup, injury-wise. And now we're assuming he's not going to be there because of a dirty play. And until the NHL, and by NHL, don't confuse who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the owners of these franchises, because they are the NHL. They determine the path that the NHL wants to take.
Mm-hmm.
Till the owners, Mark Chipman in Winnipeg, who all the owners are. I don't need to go through them. Till the owners demand of the league office that the star players be put on a pedestal when it comes to injuries and preventing injuries, this is the kind of BS that is going to continue to happen.
I don't think it should matter. I don't think it should matter if it's a star or just any player, to be honest with you, Drew. I mean, you just, again, it goes, no, I think it just goes back to the idea that you want consistency across the league. And the truth is, if you throw the book at a Ryan Strome for an intentional knee, if that's what it's determined to be, then maybe that kind of stuff, and a hefty fine and all that sort of thing, then perhaps you're de-incentivizing guys from being stupid and reckless. That's what you want. I don't really give a shit about the other stuff. It's more just this idea of just creating a consistent, and again, not like, if you want to appeal, if you think it's too harsh, too punitive, well, then you appeal it. But the reality is, if you put into place something that has teeth and you cause these guys to miss enough games because they're reckless, guess what happens? Guys stop being reckless. You don't want to miss 20 games. You're going to stop being reckless. So make the punishments. And again, this has nothing to do with just a Jets injury. I wouldn't care if it was the other way around.
Specific.
I'm just saying, make the penalty harsh. And if you do, what ends up happening is guys don't do it. They learn these. It's the same as everything. What'll happen is
Dave's right and Drew's right. I mean, like, they do have to protect their star players better, but they just have to protect their players better star players are included within that, obviously, right?
Sure, but
so they
look
just
at
have to be more consistent, and they have like it's again. This is a shame because it was setting up to be a great goal scoring race between Austin Matthews, Kyle Connor, Nikita Kucherov, so on
Sidney
and so
Crosby.
forth. Frank Vetrano.
Sidney Crosby has 15.
Yeah, Vetrano has 14.
Yeah.
Brock, yeah. I mean, look, but John Chan's comment, I highlighted it on the screen here. The NFL realized that their bread and butter is with their star players. And their star players in the NFL, by and large, are the quarterbacks. So they have put in rules to keep their quarterbacks safe. And some of the rules are taken to a bit of an extreme, where you really can't tackle the quarterback or sack the quarterback hard anymore. But so be it. They know that the ticket-buying public wants to see great quarterback play, and that the game is better when their best players are on the ice and the scrubs are not injuring the best players. When Tom Brady got injured by Bernard Pollard, when he went at it with what at the time was a legal hit, tackling a quarterback at and below the knees. At the time, it was a legal hit. What did the NFL do in response? They said, we're banning that hit. And so quarterbacks can't get hit low anymore. Sure. And as a result, there have been a lot fewer instances of a quarterback being out for the season.
Fine, but how do you translate that to the NHL? Oh, hold on a second. We're going to have a special ref to monitor to make sure nothing happens to Kyle Connor or Mark Scheifele or Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl.
You have to have a better standard of officiating.
Well, that's what we're saying. So, I mean, again, like I said, it doesn't, again, I understand the NFL and the NHL are different games, obviously, and you can do that where you can institute a quarterback rule. But in the NHL, again, it comes back to what I'm saying, make the punishment punitive, make it difficult, make a guy miss. Again, like I said, we're seeing it in the chat. People are saying
because players when they get suspended, it's without pay,
right?
But my point is that if Ryan Strome, and I know Ryan Strome and Kyle Connor are very different players, and it's not apples to apples in terms of removal. But for Ryan Strome to miss 5 minutes in a game, for Kyle Connor, who again he could be in the next game or he could miss the next 8 weeks, it's not equal. And so the reality is there's no punishment for the casualness of Ryan Strome sticking his knee out. So make that a significant enough penalty that when a player does that, they're not going to do it because they know I'm going to miss 15 games. I'm going to miss 10 games. And so the problem is these rules are a joke. And if a guy misses 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, think about how many times you see a guy get a fine. And don't get me wrong, NHL players are the cheapest. So like losing, people say, what does $2,000 mean to them? They still get upset when they lose $2,000. But the fact of the matter is, make them harsh, make it difficult, and they'll stop doing this.
Did Jacob Trouba get suspended for that slash to the head?
No, got fined.
Yeah,
$500.
That was vicious. And I realized that a lot of people were saying, well, it just looked like that because of the angle. I apologize. I don't remember who he slashed. I'd have to look it up. I guess I could Google it right now, but
keep going.
Jacob Trouba, that was a slash to the head, and he didn't even get a game. Slashing a guy to the head, and if that doesn't get a game, I mean, what?
Trent Frederick of the Boston Bruins is who he slashed.
There you go. If for people watching or listening on the podcast, just YouTube it or whatever. Jacob Trouba slash Trent Frederick. That was a couple of weeks ago now, maybe a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that, like Drew said, that was a fine, and a fine, a fine is. That's a slap on the wrist. That's nothing. For these guys that make millions of dollars a year, a $2,500 fine is nothing.
Look, you want improved officiating, you want consistent discipline meted out by the head office. It starts with a dictate from the ownership and a dictate from the general managers. So, all the complaining about George Parros.
Thank you, Ed McStinko.
All the complaining from the general managers, or all the complaining, it starts with the front offices of the teams themselves. They can be the ones who can demand a better and a better treatment and more consistent treatment. As soon as they do that, then you'll see it change. Until that, It's never going to change, and you're going to have the roulette wheel, and you're going to have guys like, frankly, if I had to play for the Anaheim Ducks this year, I'd rather be suspended. So I don't think Ryan Strome's going to mind that much that he might get suspended and miss a couple of their games. What's the difference going to be? They're going to lose 48 games this year instead of 46 games. Who the hell cares at that point in time? But the point is, the Jets are now likely to be without one of their superstars, and the Anaheim Ducks, the penalty that'll be handed out to them will be a very minor inconsequential slap on the wrist. Couple other comments from Rick Bowness before we get to the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Rick Bowness on Mark Scheifele stepping up to fight Ryan Strome. Quote, "That's the leader Mark is. That's why he didn't hesitate to jump in. He saw what happened. He saw it was a dirty hit, and he addressed it right away. So good on Mark." More from Bonus on Josh Morrissey. Quote, "The last 2 games, he put the team on his back, which he's capable of doing. He made some great plays. He's so great with the puck. He's just a tremendous skater. Elite hockey IQ. He's made some awesome plays at the right time." And the final one, Rick Bowness on Gabe Vilardi getting his first goal, the game-winning goal. Huge. We talked to him this morning. We just want him to get going and get aggressive. I don't worry about mistakes. Just get your feet going. Play aggressive. Play with an attitude, and we'll deal with the rest.
Rick Bowness is taking credit for Gabe Vilardi's goal.
Just like a big salad from Mindy's or wherever it wasn't Mindy's. Whatever the name of the rest. What?
No, Mendy's. Oh no, Mendy's was the restaurant.
Monk's Cafe. Wasn't it Monk's Cafe?
Yeah, it was Monk's.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. There you go. There was the soup where it was a cream soup and did he crumble? That was Mendy's.
Yes.
But nonetheless, we don't need
soup
to get down
is a meal, I think.
We don't need to get down a Seinfeld rabbit hole. Instead, we'll wrap up the post-game show with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
I immediately realized what I did. After this, we'll do a Manitoba Moose minute, but dear God, Dave, please keep it tight. Go ahead, Ezzy. Who gets the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment?
We're going to give it to Rob Noakes. See Rob Noakes in these post-game shows a lot. So, Rob, thank you for your continued support of our IC. Obviously, we thank everybody for joining us. We've got over 300 people watching. We had over 450 earlier. So, obviously, a lot of people pumped up about the Jets' 4th win in a row and the fact that the Jets are 1st overall in the Central Division right now. Rob's comment, you see it there. I would love to put that 3rd line out for the 5-minute power play right away because they would remain composed and show the power play 1 and 2 what to do. I like that because that was a unique, it's a good comment by Rob because you obviously don't see that very often. Teams have their number 1 power play, their number 2 power play, and we know that the Jets were emotionally affected by a Kyle Connor leaving the game in the way that he did, right, with the knee injury. So, Rob, send me an email. I like that comment a lot. Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs on X/Twitter @ICSEG, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. We actually got Tough Duck to ship out 2 toques to Leslie Mitchnick, who won the hardest hitting comment a few games ago because unfortunately, he didn't get his toque last year. That might have been my fault, Leslie. I apologize. We have a lot of Tough Duck hardest hitting comment winners, so we're going to send Leslie 2, and we're going to send Rob 1 for tonight's comment.
There you go. Congratulations.
And Rob's, by the way, in Uruguay, is he?
Oh, I did not know that.
Hopefully, Rob has a Manitoba address, but we'll figure that out.
Okay, but does Rob live in Uruguay? I don't know if
Rob is currently in Uruguay, so we don't know if Rob lives there.
Well, Rob, are you in? Do you live in Canada? Because if you're in Uruguay, that might be a little bit expensive. I could always go to Uruguay.
Uruguay.
I was going to say, Uruguay is a beautiful country. Great. I believe they've won the World Cup of Soccer, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty sure that's not the case, but
they're a good soccer. No, they're a good soccer nation.
Oh, he's in California and Uruguay there, so we're good.
He's in 2 places at once. That's even more impressive.
I believe that is his saying residence-wise.
Thank you, Dave. I understood what.
But hold on. But Rob's dad lives in St. James, so we can even get some local elements.
It's getting closer and closer. Eventually, it's just gonna as he's just gonna deliver it upstairs to Dave's bedroom somehow or another.
Okay. By the way, you guys thought I didn't know what I was talking about. Uruguay has won 4 world championships in soccer.
Wow, really? 4 World Cups?
World Championships. I was like, that seems like you're making a distinction there.
No.
What's a world championship in soccer?
They've won 19 FIFA official titles. All I know is on Wikipedia it says Uruguay is one of the most successful teams in the world.
As basically as he played FIFA soccer on his Genesis with Uruguay and won a game is what happened.
Uruguay is powerful in soccer, and it's very hot there. So, Rob,
there we go. Matthew Thompson. They says they won the first World Cup. Thank you, Matthew. And then IC3PO said
You poo-pooed what I said, Mindell. I have my soccer knowledge.
Yeah, it's a hell of a knowledge you have there. I'll tell you who's got some knowledge. That's Manuk, and he's got Moose knowledge. Let's wrap it up with the Manuk Moose Minute.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I'm going to keep this one tight,
Please.
I tells you. So the Moose were in Calgary to take on the Wranglers. They're one of the best teams in the Pacific, and Manitoba did not have a very good fate on Friday. I didn't get a chance to talk about it because I forgot, because we were in such a rush to finish the show on Saturday morning. But I won't go into that one other than to say that the Moose had a good first period, terrible second, and even though they were having a better third, goals-wise, they weren't. So they lost 6-2. They were looking for to earn themselves a split in the rematch So it didn't get off to a very good start. Now, again, injury-wise, Chaz Lucius, the 2021 first rounder, he took a maintenance day last week, which I thought was unusual. I wasn't certain. Turns out he wasn't able to play either of the games. So hopefully when the Moose get back to town, they're back tonight, but they're back on the ice on Tuesday. We'll get an update on Chaz and also Kyle Capobianco. He's dealing with a hip issue. Head coach Mark Morrison told me last week. So he missed both games this weekend. Dmitry Kuzmin, the 2021 third rounder, he played his first two AHL games this weekend, I should say, in Calgary. And things got off to a poor start because much like the Jets, the power play for the Moose was not good today. They gave up not one, but two shorthanded goals. Dryden Hunt, he opened the scoring for Calgary in the first period, about midway through the first, to give them a 1-0 lead. Artemi Nizev, not a good play actually on either of the shorthanded goals against and the 5-on-5 goal, but it was not a great goal to give up. But 2 minutes later, Jeffrey Viel, he ties the game. He gets his second. Right place, right time. And Brad Lambert, got to talk about him because he had a beautiful play, whip around the zone, create some time and space moving his feet, and he set up that goal. So now it's 1-1. And then again in the second period, deja vu. Again, the Wranglers score shorthanded to take a 2-1 lead. And you're like, oh, God, I've seen this script before. But the Moose fight back. Christian Reichel, who's been doing everything but score, gets his first goal of the season. And you could see that it was weighing on him. I talked to him about 10 days ago, and he was like, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but score that goal. Well, he scored the goal through the monkey off of his back. There was a lot of excitement. Originally, we thought Jeffrey Viel scored it, but Reichel, kind of like Velarde, got the tip, tied the game 2-2. Third period again, midway through the third, the Wranglers take a 3-2 lead, and you're like, well, that's not going to be good for business because you just didn't know if the Moose were going to be able to fight back. But sure enough, who again? Christian Reichel. 13 seconds after the Wranglers took the lead, it was 3-3. Both teams traded chances. Neither team scored during regulation. So, of course, it goes to overtime. In OT, who else? Brad Lambert, 2022 first rounder. And
Big bad.
Big Bad Brad. And now let me tell you, it's on all of our socials, our Instagram, Twitter, blah, 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 blah. It'll be in the morning papers if you need links to it. He just wheeled from the Moose zone right into the Calgary end. And, 3-on-3, there's too much space for him. And he scores I think it was his 8th goal of the season. So now he's got up to 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. He's top 10 in rookie scoring right now in the AHL. His shooting percentage is unbelievable. I think it's like 17.4%. Remember, he's playing center now. So Brad Lambert, he was going all game. And the other player who I thought was really good was Nikita Chibrikov. And I know folks are asking me who I think will be recalled. I don't think either of them will, because I think what you're going to do is you're going to disrupt what they're doing right now with the Moose. And I know it's Kyle Connor, and potentially you want to give a player, replace that player with a guy in that similar mold. But I don't know that the organization wants to take that risk. I guess we'll see what it does in terms of how long Kyle Connor is going to be out. But to me, Lambert and Chibrikov and Jilkin and all those young guns are really learning the pro game right now for the Moose. So I don't know that you want to disrupt that. You could always recall a guy like Jeffrey Viel or Tom Donato or whatever. And again, it depends on how long Kyle Connor is going to be out. But right now, my guess is, my thought would be that they're not going to want to disrupt the Lamberts or the Luciuses or the Chibrikovs from what they're doing right now with the Moose. I could be wrong.
Maybe Jeff Malott gets a call up. He's a goal
He
scorer,
deserves
right?
it. He's playing very
We
well.
just don't know. It depends on, like, again, Dave, like if it's a short-term injury, the likelihood is lower than if it's a long-term injury, then
sure.
yeah, you might call up a goal scorer. But I mean, you know the Moose better than anybody, so I'll trust you, Dave M. But yeah, like I don't think we should necessarily hold our breath that Big Bad Brad's going to get a call up, because he's doing really well with the Moose right now.
Well, and remember, and it's worth noting, Brad Lambert's playing as a center. So are you going to disrupt the idea of developing as a center to put him as a winger in replacement of Kyle Connor? Like, again, and the other thing is also is that that's a ton of pressure. Like guys, Brad Lambert isn't Kyle Connor. He's fast. He's not Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor's played, Ezzy, what are we on right now? 7-8 years of pro for Kyle Connor. Right. So you're not going to put Brad Lambert into Kyle Connor's skates, metaphorically speaking, and expect him to fill that exact same role just because he's fast. So again, my feeling is you're going to leave Brad Lambert at center with the Moose, continuing to play 20-something minutes a game and developing the way he's developing. Same with Nikita Chibrikov, who's developing nicely. He's even higher than Lambert in terms of points. I think he's got, he might be one back because Lambert had a goal and an assist today. But the point I'm making is that I just don't think you're going to want to disrupt their development when, as he said, you can pull up a Malott, a VL, a Toninato, or whomever, even a Reichel, and get a guy who's going to go into that mold. Again, not the same level as Kyle Connor, but you may not want to disrupt things the way things are going down with the Moose and up with the Jets.
There you go. There's the Manuk Moose Minute recapping everything going on with the Manitoba Moose. Want to remind people, Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. We're going to be live on location at Farmery Brewing. Dave's wearing the hat. I'm drinking the beer.
As he's wearing the hoodie.
As he's wearing the hoodie. Yeah, there you go. That's coming up Saturday morning, 9 a.m. We're going to be at number 2 Donald Street. That's the Farmery Brewing retail location. We'll do the IC Hockey Show from there. So if you're looking for something to do on Saturday morning, come on by. Grab yourself some IC beer. Grab yourself any of the great products that our friends at Farmery have available, and come say hi and tune in for Saturday's Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That's coming up at Farmery Brewing, number 2 Donald Street. Of course, we'll be back on Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. That's going to be for the Illegal Curve post-game show after the Jets and the San Jose Sharks. So it's going to be a late night / early morning. So please
let's hope they recall Leon Gavanke.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see if it's Leon Gavanke's revenge game. So stay with us after that game on Tuesday night for the latest edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. They make the post-game show, the Saturday show, the website a possibility, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the title sponsor of the post-game show, Tough Duck, they're, of course, the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. They're our friends sponsor that. Boston Pizza, Seagrams. I took a shot of Fireball in honor of our friends at Seagrams. Rollins Transfer and Farmery Beer support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Jets win 4-2 tonight in Anaheim. LegalCurve.com has got your latest Jets news. It'll have an update on Kyle Connor just as soon as it's available, and it'll have all your post-game coverage coming up. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave us feedback on YouTube, leave us feedback on iTunes, leave us feedback on Google Podcasts, leave us feedback everywhere and anywhere you can leave us feedback. That's what we ask of you. Big thanks to everyone for joining us. For Dave Manuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Until Tuesday night / Wednesday morning, we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.